Making all things new, Murdo MacDonald Bayne. We have just entered another year, perhaps a more important year because we have now entered the second half of the 19th century, 1950. We talk about making new resolutions, yet these resolutions are of little value to us unless we are aware of the truth of our being. When we grasp this fundamental principle of life, there is no need for resolutions, for we make all things new. Everything then is changed for us through the realization of this great living reality that underlies all things. We recognize in every person and in everything this eternal substance out of which everything is made. We come to the truth of the one in which all things exist. Einstein has just recently postulated certain mathematical facts to prove that there is only one and everything must be in and of this one. Now this truth has been known throughout the ages to the great thinkers in the world. Now let us understand ourselves so that by doing so we can make all things new. We know that God alone created the heavens and the earth and all things thereon. He could only create all this within himself and out of his own substance. Let us call that substance mind, as there can be no other substance but his, being infinite in nature. Therefore we are virtually made out of his own substance, and every particle of substance must be God, for there can be nothing outside him. Paul says, we live and move and have our being in him. Jesus says, know ye not I am in the Father and the Father is in me. I am quoting these sayings to add substance to that which I wish to reveal to you, for you will readily accept what the prophets say rather than depend upon your own thinking. You really accept what you read as truth without really knowing in yourselves whether it is true or not, and this is why you fail. You have never thought it out for yourselves. You have not made it your own, therefore truth to you is a relative thing and not a reality. I am the truth. Now, the great thing you want to know is, how is mind materialized? This subject has gripped the minds of most, especially those who wish to create for themselves. Thus the creative principle is turned inwards and not outwards. One lives to create for himself, to accumulate wealth, power, prestige, etc., while another creates for the sake of creation. One lives unto himself and the other lives for all. One has all the worries in the world and the other has all the joy. One is forgotten and the other is remembered. You must remember the eternal, for it is he who gives you the power of gaining. Jude 8:18. The eternal God is the creative power within all, and as the eternal is all, we gain more by creating for all and not only for the self. Thus we do not make God a separate relative thing, an idea in our minds, but he becomes the creative will within us. I and the Father are one. The will of the Father is done in me. These statements we must make our own so as to make it real in ourselves. The 𝗖 is the creative faculty, yet by itself the 𝗨 is nothing. The 𝗨 must lose itself in the whole to become real, and it is this conscious creative I am that truly governs, guides and directs, manipulates and materializes. Jesus says, in other words, ask in my name and the Father will do it for you. Ask in the name of the Son of God, the Son of the Father, recognizing the Father as the source of your being, and he will do the work for you. It is the Father who ever remaineth within me, he does the work. Now, there is a certain amount of training necessary to develop this power to make all things new, and I will direct you to a simple exercise that will develop in you the realization of that great self that underlies the individual self. All masters of nature have at one time or another gained this realization through developing the conscious awareness of the self in relation to all things relative to it. In my own training I was directed to analyze the not I things until I arrived at the realization that my mind and body were relative instruments in which I was acting or creating. When this realization came, I found that both these instruments responded to my thought and direction. My health and circumstances improved, and although now in my 72nd year I am young and as virile as a man in the prime of life. I found that with those highly advanced, the only difference was in the degree of this realization. They were as gods as compared to the ordinary man. But the real power does not manifest itself until the 𝗨 has lost itself in the great I am, the creator of all things. As one develops the power to create through this realization, the attitude towards things external becomes entirely different. They become just things, effects, and therefore your reaction is also entirely different, which is one of the main points in our mental makeup. It is all the time the mental attitude you take towards the external that gives you power over it. Your mind changes, your body changes, yet 𝗦𝗏 never changes. This is the real you and will always be you, because it is not separated from the creative power behind all things. I am, consciousness and life are synonymous. The name is different but they are one and the same. Then be careful that in your thinking you do not make I am relative. You must know it is you I am that is thinking and creating. Thus you make all things new. I am, you are above all things, therefore you become positive to all things relative to you, but you must first find what is relative to you by this exercise. Anything you can think about, see, feel and touch is relative. I am, you are negative only to the great I am, the great creative God who is manifesting himself in and through you. With this understanding, whatever you ask, the Father will do for you because you are virtually one. As you assert your authority over all things, so do you subordinate yourself to the greater. The Father is greater than I, and gladly and joyfully open your soul to the inflow of his divine will, wisdom and love, and all things will be added unto you. It is stated that Solomon asked God only for wisdom, and with it all other things were added, so it is with you and me. It is the proper use of our thought action that is essential to our health and happiness. Therefore, the most important thing in our lives is to acquire a knowledge of how to apply ourselves so that we can become an asset, not a burden upon our fellows. Therefore, the first process is to have a mental house cleaning so that you can use your mind to work through. What I mean by a mental house cleaning is to see all that which is false, and this is not easy to accomplish at first because of your rigid adherence to preconceived beliefs and ideas. These are more often not your own but that which you have habitually conformed to for years. Misconceptions and errors continually reproduce themselves, but when we begin to think deeply and logically and think from first cause, errors and misconceptions will naturally disappear. If you accept something that you read or hear without applying your divine wisdom to it, then you are bound by that which you accept. If you have been taught to conform to a certain belief through fear of what may befall you, if you do not adhere to this belief, then you are a prisoner and freedom is impossible. This conforming happens when the mind is young, and it takes some time before you can rid yourselves of the shackles that bind you. You are free now, but this can only be realized by knowing that God, you are one, and never has it been otherwise. How can it ever be otherwise when you and the Father are one and will be forever? Your thinking power, your creative power comes from the Father that is within doing the work. Therefore, any belief that separates you from your fellow man is but an illusion and is not truth. You never quarrel over the truth, you only quarrel over your ideas of what truth is. But truth is, and you are the truth. I am the truth. No one can deny that you are living, and living is reality, for God alone lives. When you have cleansed your mind from all that is error and illusion, then you will find that the truth is there. It was always there, only needed uncovering, and this is the cleansing process of the mind. Now truth is not an idea or an image, neither can you create it. That which you create is not the truth, it is only an idea of the truth, and not until you have arrived at the truth through the cleansing process, not until then can you really create, for then there will be no doubt nor fear to hinder you. In my next letter to you I will give you further instructions so that you will become a greater and more powerful instrument for good, not only to yourself but to all others whom you may contact. Only by becoming an active worker now can you make all things new. Benediction. O Divine One who resides in all, teach us to cleanse the mind and heal the body through the divine wisdom of thy presence. Thou art my Father, Mother, my friend, my beloved, thou art myself. Thou hast created me in thyself out of thine own substance, and thy spirit of life is I. O adorable One, how lovely thou art when I see the best that is in me. May the halo of thy presence be revealed to all minds, and in all lands of earth, so that material worship be changed into worship of thy presence, thy wisdom and love. So that we learn to love thee most and see thee everywhere. So that thy spirit manifest itself in all its divine qualities through all mankind. So that we learn that we are free from limitation, and imperfection, and misery. So that thy kingdom which is within will manifest itself without, then I will know myself to be one with thee. O beloved, thy love has made us one, making all things new. My peace and my love remain with you. Yours sincerely, 𝗦 MacDonald Bayne.